coming in, and they're off for the AIS Novices hurdle at grade 2 level. 2 mile 4 furlong, 140 yards, quickly out flight number 1. All safely over. And Fortune Timmy led briefly, but it's now Heads Up, who's racing pretty keenly. Will now show at the second flight of hurdles with the advantage. Heads Up from a done deal. A couple of lengths away to Cryptic Jim. Then to his outside is Taurus Bay, the dark blue jacket. To the inside of him now Fortune Timmy. 2 lengths away to find the blue room, white and green with a red cap. And then blue and white diamonds, Jack Kennedy has Open Secret just at the back of the field early on. So racing around the far corner and about to head towards the top of the home straight. Heads Up, who ran second in the champion bumper here at the festival, leading by a length and a half in this grade 2 novice this afternoon. From a done deal, yellow sleeves of Cryptic Jim, Taurus Bay wider from him, and then Fortune Timmy. That's over the next hurdle, the third in their journey. And it's Heads Up. He's still racing enthusiastically, heading up the home straight, leading by a length over a done deal. Then toward the right-hand side, the yellow-capped Fortune Timmy with Cryptic Jim. He's got the tongue strap on for the first time, followed closely by Taurus Bay, then Open Secret, trying to give Jack Kennedy a treble on today's card. Next is the Blue Room. So angling by this troublesome bit of ground by the second last on the chase course, and passing by that area and on towards their fourth flight. It is Heads Up who will lead them over the fourth with a good leap. From near side a done deal, far side Fortune Timmy, and between them Cryptic Jim. Followed closely then by Taurus Bay, trying to make it 3 out of 3 over hurdles. Couple of lengths away then to Open Secret. The back market is the Blue Room as they turn to go down the far side in this concluding AIS Novices hurdle. And it's Heads Up and Danny Mullins who lead into the back straight. On they race towards the fifth. Heads Up from in second Fortune Timmy, Cryptic Jim, and a done deal deeper complete the leading 4. Taurus Bay back in 5th place over the first hurdle down the far side. Open Secret was next, and then came the Blue Room, who remains at the rear of the field. Out to the middle flight over on this section. Jump number 6 upcoming. Heads Up from Fortune Timmy, a done deal and Cryptic Jim. Then came Taurus Bay and Open Secrets. And jumping that in last, the Blue Room. So running towards their next hurdle, number 7. Heads Up, leading a length and a half. 2 Fortune Timmy, the leader got that all wrong, ploughed through the flight of hurdles. He's okay though, Heads Up, he remains in the lead as they start to climb. Heads Up from Fortune Timmy, Cryptic Jim, and deeper than a done deal. In front of Taurus Bay, Open Secret, and the Blue Room just losing touch on the others as they race towards flight number 8. It will be 3 out. Heads Up from Fortune Timmy and Cryptic Jim between horses. Great jump there from Cryptic Jim. He just about put his head in front to Fortune Timmy. Heads Up remains well there in 3rd. Taurus Bay is next in 4th. Couple away to Open Secrets, and then came a done deal. Running now about to go around the corner with the Blue Room pretty much pulled up at the back of the field there by Sean Bowen. So racing downhill then, they've only got 2 more flights of hurdles left to take in the gathering gloom, and Fortune Timmy, Cryptic Jim, and Heads Up are still the leaders. From in 4th, Taurus Bay, Open Secret, and a done deal. Racing downhill now, little in it for the lead. Fortune Timmy, Cryptic Jim, Heads Up still with them, and then Taurus Bay, Open Secret trying to move up into it in blue and white as they went over 2 from the end. And it's just about Cryptic Jim, but Fortune Timmy well there. Open Secret is trying to pick his way through. Taurus Bay has come there, going pretty well on the bend for home. The white sleeves, and Heads Up is still in the picture as well. They're leaving now behind a done deal into the home straight. They've got 1 more flight of hurdles to take and still a fair run to it. Cryptic Jim, Fortune Timmy joined there by Taurus Bay. The white sleeves, Open Secret is now ridden along for the first time. Heads Up is done with. They're on this journey down towards the final hurdle. Taurus Bay now challenging Cryptic Jim. Fortune Fortune Timmy back in third over the last. Cryptic Jim made a small mistake. Taurus Bay has now grabbed a hold of, and he now moves into a small lead, but Cryptic Jim won't give it up. He's battling away all the way out the hill. It's Taurus Bay and Cryptic Jim in a great finish to the last. It's Taurus Bay and Cryptic Jim, and there's still nothing in it. Cryptic Jim and Taurus Bay, they're going to hit the line together. Cryptic Jim and Taurus Bay in a close call.
Jon Pullin, the Clerk of the Course here at Cheltenham, has very kindly come to join me, and I need to understand what the hell went on there. First of all, how was the hole discovered?
So normal course of proceedings, the ground staff would be repairing the ground, takeoffs, landings and other areas. And it was one of the ground staff that spotted that there was an area of concern, raised it with the head groundsman and assistant head groundsman, who notified me. I went down to have a look. I then got some concern that I felt needed to be discussed with participants, and so came back to the steward's room. In the meantime, we had a visit from one of the stewards. He'd come down and seen the area of concern as well. We reconvened in the steward's room, discussed it with the participants. That was obviously the first time that they were aware of what the issue was. We'd held them in the paddock whilst we were down there having a look, brought them into the steward's room, discussed the area of concern, and discussed what we could possibly do to carry on racing. If there was an option to carry on, it wasn't a given that we would carry on, but obviously we wanted to discuss amongst everyone if there was a way that we could. We found a workaround, or a potential workaround, without seeing it on the ground, and so went down to the area again with trainers and jockeys, by which time a lot of the work had been done. I'd spoken to the grounds team who were putting into play what we discussed. Went down there with trainers and jockeys, reassessed the area that we would then be racing on, and everyone was happy at that stage to carry on.
Okay. What is the hole?
It's a hole. At the moment, we need to do some more exploratory work after today to understand what's caused it. But it was a single hole.
How do you know?
Well, there was a single hole. There weren't any other holes, and so we assessed the area. We moved off the area of concern, and we checked that before we carried on.
How deep was the hole, would you say?
About a foot deep. Something like that. So
whole person's arm disappeared down it. It looks like more than a foot deep.
Like I say, we've had a look, and there's an area, there's a gap underneath it, and like I say, we moved off the area. We checked the area that we were due to race on, and all participants were happy to carry on.
Is it a drainage hole potentially? An old drain?
It could be. It could be, but it's too early to say at this stage. We need to do some further work to understand exactly what's caused it.
How could you be confident that there was only one hole on the course?
Well, it would be pretty much the same on any race day. We walk the track, and
but on any race day you haven't discovered a hole that somebody could disappear their arm down.
No, we haven't discovered any holes, but we were confident, having reassessed the area around there, that there was no false ground. It was fresh ground that hadn't been raced on. It was virtually onto the old course, which hasn't been raced on since November.
Is it possible that was an old? It's a drain, essentially. Is that possible? A collapsed drain and some sort?
I wouldn't want to comment at the moment on what the cause is. We need to do some further exploratory work to understand what's caused it.
And how much of an issue was the sunset?
Obviously, we were mindful of that, but we felt that if it didn't become a consideration until we'd made the decision to carry on, and once we then assessed what light we'd got left, and we'd got the rail around the area of concern, and were able to get the jockeys out and horses down to the start in a timely fashion. That meant that we could stage the race in the light that we got left.
And what was the judges' view on that? Because obviously we ended up with a very, very narrow photo finish. We couldn't give a close-up on course because it was so blurry that we weren't able to distinguish. What was his view? Was his view taken into consideration when the decision was made to go ahead?
Obviously, the stewards will have been dealing with that whilst I was dealing with the track, but no concerns were raised to me before we set off.
Okay. Whose decision is it in the end to decide whether to race or not?
It's a collective decision. The inquiry was held with the BHA officials, with jockeys, with trainers, and myself as the racecourse representative, and it was a collective decision to carry on.
And can anyone, if somebody says no, they don't want to race, is that essentially a power of veto?
It could have been, or they had the choice not to run if somebody had concerns.
Well, Nicky Henderson indeed did make that choice.
Yes, he did, and so others could have made that choice had they chosen to do so. But everybody else chose to race, and like I say, those that inspected the area were happy and comfortable that it was safe to do so.
And so the governing authority doesn't have the ability in that process to decide whether or not racing goes ahead?
You'll have to refer to the stewards as to their processes, but the process was that they listened to the views of those involved in the inquiry and those that had seen the area of concern, and that once we'd found the workaround and that those participants that were involved in the inquiry were happy to continue, then the go-ahead is given.
Should participants be involved in making a decision of whether to go ahead for a race in which they have a financial interest?
I think they have every right to be involved in the process, yes. It would be wrong for me to solely make a decision as to whether we race or not. You could look at it in a different way, that I said, yes, we'll carry on and we'll race, and something happened and they wouldn't have been involved in that decision making. So I think it's absolutely right that they are involved, but the decision isn't solely down to them.
By the way, we've just received the prints for the photo of the final race, which we can show you. Might be worth having a look at. That's a farce, isn't it, John?
It's not ideal, no.
Is it a farce?
It's not ideal.
So, do you get the feeling that Cheltenham Racecourse just took a risk in running that race?
No, I don't.
Why?
Because we very carefully inspected the area that we were due to race over again, and both myself and the participants were happy and comfortable that the area we were due to race on was safe.
What will Cheltenham Racecourse do as a result of this to make sure that racing is safe on the whole course for the Cheltenham Festival?
We'll obviously be doing some exploratory work to assess what's gone on. Firstly, we need time to understand exactly what's caused this incident, and before we rush into making any other decisions, we need to understand what we're dealing with here first, and that's what we'll start with straight away.
It seems odd that you're saying that about a race meeting that's going to be happening in 6 weeks' time, but not ahead of a race that was happening in 6 minutes' time.
No, you asked the question as to what we would do to make sure that the whole course was safe. We need to understand what's caused this before we can then assess if the rest of the course will be safe.
So you're acknowledging essentially that you didn't know whether the rest of the course was safe when you went ahead with the last race?
We staged 7 races perfectly adequately. No areas of concern had been identified, and when the area was shown to us down at the second last, we assessed it, we found a route round it that was safe and agreed by all participants.
How lucky do you think we were in the Cleve?
I think it's something we'll never know.
Okay, John, well, I really appreciate you coming out and answering all of those questions. Happily, we've managed to get through the race meeting without any serious incident. I do appreciate you coming up and giving your point of view. Thank you very much.
Thank you.